Hello there. I'm John Nolan from Vistage UAE, and here we have another episode of the Top Shelf podcast, which Vistage UAE is sponsoring this series. So today I'm joined by Jaspal Bal, who is the founder and CEO of Lightlink in Dubai. So, hi Jaspal, how are you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, great. So Jaspal, look, since Vistage UAE are sponsoring this podcast. I'm just going to start off by asking you, how's your experience been in Vistage so far?
It's been really good, actually. At first, I was a little bit apprehensive because I was like, oh, maybe I don't belong here because it's a lot of CEOs and my business is still young. But in fact, a lot of the problems that businesses all have, they're kind of relatable. Doesn't matter what business you have. And so having that experience with people that have been in business for multiple years, people who are starting up, it's a real diverse network of people. And so I've so far found it really, really useful. And it's just nice to kind of vent and get good, solid advice from experienced people, and also be able to help people with my own experiences as well. It just makes you feel like you're on the right track to do the right thing. That's been the experience so far, yeah.
Great. Okay. Well. Look, I know that you're in my Vistage group, so you've been a great contributor so far. And look, it's great to have you. The great thing about you're one of the strong guys that actually brings issues, but also helps others solve as well. So you're a very active member of the group. So look, let's segue it into more about you now. I'd really like to know a little bit about your company and what's your current role. And since you're the founder, what's the story behind how you set this company up?
So I've been in Dubai 16 years now, almost 16 years. And then I've worked for similar companies. So Lightlink is a lighting design and supply company. So we work with architects, MEP consultants, contractors we do a design service and a supply service, and then site support. Now, in 2019, having worked for several other companies in the UAE, I decided to go on my own. And at the time, I had a business partner and had potential investors and everything like that. But then I kind of lost my job, and I had to accelerate all my plans because my wife was pregnant as well, with our baby girl. So I managed to get the trade license sorted, accelerated everything to May 2019. But then that same week, I had lost the business partners and the investors, and then my baby was born a month later. So as you can imagine, it was a real stressful start. But in the end, I think that's the best thing that ever happened to me, because overnight I became 100% owner of the business. And I think having a baby took away a lot of the other stress that comes with it, because I didn't have a choice. When the choice was taken away from me, it was like you have to have a scrap and get the job done and try and win some projects. And so yeah, it was a turbulent start, but I think it was good for me to kind of have my back up against the wall and come out fighting. And within a few months, within I think 3-4 months, I was able to I was paying people's salaries from my personal account, and then once I got some projects in, I was able to kind of pay all that. And then we've just grown from strength to strength. We're up to 30 people now, turning over 30 million, and with an office in Saudi Arabia as well. So that's been the story so far.
Amazing. So what year did you start?
2019.
19, so it's about 5 years old now.
So it's 5 years old, yeah.
And before that, how did you end up coming to the UAE in Dubai? What's the story behind that?
I was working as a lighting consultant before. Hadn't started off with manufacturers, ended up working as a lighting consultant. And this was 2008 when the market was about to crash, and I could sense that things weren't going right in the company that I was working for at the time, and they were starting to let people go. And one big project went on hold, and I wasn't particularly happy in the UK. I was married at the time. Was an unhappy marriage. And I was like, I need to get out of here. And so I just pulled the ripcord, and I had an opportunity through friends to come out to Dubai, and I hadn't even looked at images of Dubai. I literally Googled Dubai, and then a month later I was out here. Had a phone interview with somebody, and he was like, within an hour of that phone interview, he offered me a job. So it was all kind of, at that time, Dubai needed people, and they were taking on people with not as much experience as they should have had. So it was quite interesting. So it was a great start to kind of like Dubai. But what that did is accelerated all my plans, or all my other stuff. Like I ended up going through divorce, and then I had this kind of single life here. So in some ways, I think a lot of people can relate to it, that people that came to Dubai needed to get away from something and needed a better opportunity, which this ticked all those boxes, and I've never looked back since, really. And now I'm happily married, been with my wife 10 years now. I've got a 5-year-old daughter, business, mortgage, all those things. So from that perspective, like, Dubai's been a really, really good opportunity for me.
Yeah, you're right. It is a similar journey to a lot of people. So on that journey, especially getting back to the journey of setting up the business, but really your leadership journey in general, I mean, what are the biggest challenges you've overcome?
I think self-doubt is one thing. Is understanding myself, understanding what I wanted to do. I think, I wasn't an academic, so you kind of tell yourself, oh, you've got to be clever to do this, that, and the other, but actually you don't. You just got to be business savvy, have a good personality, and so the challenges were, in terms of getting to where I've got to today, is sometimes when you work for a business, you can get put in a box, and you can be really good at it. I mean, I was a great salesman working for previous companies, but I don't think they ever saw me as maybe that future leader. So you just take matter into your own hands, and then start trusting your instincts, start understanding like what your strengths and weaknesses are. So those are kind of the big challenges. It's a bit of self-confidence, really. Yeah.
Look, you've touched on something that's really interesting there, which is, you said, look, wasn't the most academic person. And this is really interesting for me in particular, because a lot of entrepreneurs are not necessarily the guys who were, in the top 10 or 20% of their class. A lot of them are, I think a lot of them are, those guys that are top 10, 20% of the class end up working for a lot of entrepreneurs, right? So, you mentioned that you think you got to be savvy. What does savvy mean to you? Like, explain what you mean by savvy.
I think there's creativity. I think if you're a creative thinker, I think that helps you, because you find ways of doing good business, because you think outside the box. The only subject I did really well in was art, and then what I ended up doing was a graphic design degree, but that was after, and I did that as a mature student. So before that, I did IT study, I did business studies, and stuff I just didn't get on with. And then I was like, you know what? I realized what my strength was, which is creativity, and I said, I'm going to put that into more use, which is when I started doing the graphic design. So that helps me be a creative thinker. But I think business savvy is just more about understanding how to make things work for you without kind of being selfish. Today I had a sales meeting, so I was trying to get the team to understand how to close a deal and make, using all the different negotiation tools. That's not just about price. It's about multiple things and making them work for you and the business.
Yeah, and you strike me as someone who's passionate about your business. You're passionate about what you do. Like, would you say that you're in an industry or a sector that gets you out of bed in the morning? Like, you're happy to be in this sector?
Yeah. So, I'll be honest. When I before I started the business, I was really having one of those moments where you think, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this? I sell lights for a living. I'm getting bored of it. I'm not passionate about it anymore. Because when I was working for other companies, I had good commission structure, and I was able to kind of like earn money, pay for our wedding, and buy a house, and do all these like great things, and have nice holidays. But there was something missing, because I was like, I'm not enjoying it anymore. And then once I understood, is actually my passion is to help people and to build something that a community within my own business. And once I realized that, I was like, okay, well, I'm good at selling. I'm a good lighting designer, and I can sell lights. Okay, now if I put that into a business, that's where my passion is. So that's why I get up in the morning, is because I've created something that what I feel is a great place to work. It's got a really good environment. People enjoy coming to work, and now if I look at some of the employees where I think that they're the breadwinners in their family because of the business that I've created, that makes me quite proud. And I think so. That's where my passion is now. Like building this business with really strong values and a really strong culture, that I know when I come into the workplace, I love being there. I love interacting with my staff. I love interacting with my clients, and I think that's where my passion comes now. Is the people. It just so happens that we sell lights. I could be selling anything, as long as I've created this business with good values.
So it sounds to me like you got a passion for creating the business. You got a passion for leading people. You got a passion for helping others become successful.
Yeah, exactly that.
Right. Well, I also know you're a big learner. Like you've been on a journey for, I think, a long time on personal development, and you invest in yourself. I mean, what have you learned about yourself on the journey?
I think there's elements where I look at the skill set that I have to be a leader. I mean, I've had a business coach since I was 30 years old. I'm now 43. That really helped shape and give some structure to my life, and balance as well. I've always, part of our values in the business is to listen. The LINK is 4 values, which is listen, integrity, network, and knowledge. And I live by those rules anyway. So I take the time to listen to staff, take the time to listen to our people, and we always do the right thing, which is integrity. Do the right thing by the project, do the right thing by the people, and then build at the end is for the network. So build a real strong network of clients and supply chain and people, and then also make sure that we have the K for the knowledge. And I think that's something that was one of the first things I actually came up with. Sat in the garden before I even just came up with a company name, and I said to myself, what is it that makes me who I am, which is strong values. And I've learned that if you have that, no one can ever take that from you. So competition can come in and say they can do the same thing, and there is a lot of competition that does the same thing, but what sets you apart is how you work and what you believe in. That's my opinion anyway. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, you have. I mean, what I take away from that is that what you've learned is that when you stick to your values, it's a formula for success.
Yeah, and the problem is, your values can change over time, but as long as you kind of stick to those and you're able to communicate those effectively. But you have to learn. But it takes time, because as you get older as well, you're able to kind of look at yourself inward a lot more. When you're young, you don't have that skill set. I don't believe it takes time to. You got to make mistakes. You got to learn to listen to the right people, and you realize the wrong people as well. So I'm 43 now, and it's easy for me to say that. But I think when you're young, it's a lot harder.
Yeah, look, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I'm even older than you, so I can tell you that. I mean, the good thing about growing old is you do get wiser. And you get wiser because of experiences. And I think exactly as you mentioned, you learn how to be more and more introspective, and you learn how to ask better questions of yourself, and not. You almost admit as you get older, less and less, and the more that you can admit to that, the more you can be successful. Because when you're younger, you think you know it all, but actually you know nothing. So realizing that you don't know a lot, and you've got to seek the guidance of others, and you've got to think things through more thoroughly. And as you say, surround yourself with good people. I think that comes with age, that wisdom.
Yeah, and I think when you get to this point, if you do become successful in any field that you're in, and then it's also your responsibility and job to help the younger generation. To say, look, these are the things you need to watch out for and look out for, but not kind of like overbear them, be overbearing with it. It's a real skill set. I mean, I'm not saying I've got it right, but I have a little girl that I have, I've got to make sure that teach her what's best for her.
Yeah. No, it's like, I mean, you're right. I mean, it's passing on wisdom to younger generations is part of your duty as you age, whether it's family or whether it's friends or whether it's employees. I think those wise people that can do that successfully, they're happy. They're not just more successful; they're happier.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm probably the happiest point in my life now, because I'm doing the right things. I look after myself now, more than I ever did before. A more conscious effort about watching what I eat and training and all that kind of stuff. And I suppose that comes with age, because you wake up with your knees hurt for some reason.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so look, let's go back into the story behind Lightlink. What do you see? What does the future hold for Lightlink over the next few years?
I want to expand into other regions, or at least make Saudi more successful. And I kind of got a size in terms of turnover that I want, which is comfortable, so we can still maintain our values. For me, Lightlink would be an investor in other businesses that do similar things, or at least enhance it. We have an acoustic division as well now, so it's not just lighting. So I want to. That's in the last year we've grown that. Now we've got two people working there. So it's looking at that revenue stream, lighting controls as well. So it's looking at other business opportunities. And so our market sector we've been really strong in commercial work, offices, high-end offices, big blue chip companies. And we are diving, we did the Museum of the Future. So we're looking at projects like that, going, okay, there's other market sectors to be looked at: education, healthcare, residential, hotels, not just offices. And so we've expanded into that, into those other market sectors. So I want to get really strong at that. So I want to kind of even split over the next 5 years into all those different sectors. So, it's about employing the right people that have got those connections, and we're already kind of on our way there. I feel like I'm building a really solid team, like a client-facing team, which has really kind of got me excited how the next 5 years could plan out. Which then kind of leads you on to like, okay, what does 10 years look like for me? What do I want to be doing? Do I want to be in Dubai? It all depends on what the family situation is with education and that. But the way I see it is I'm just trying to build a really strong team, and then just be more efficient, but a better turnover. So whatever let's say I do 30 million here, I'd love to be able to do 30 million in Saudi and build another team there, but while maintaining our vision and culture and values. That's the kind of plan.
Right. So on that, I mean, look, you've been in the region quite a long time. and Dubai is, you know, enticing more and more people to move to it right now. I think a cross section of nationalities, skill sets. So, you know, what's your outlook for both Dubai, for Saudi, for the region into the future?
I think Dubai is it's a really busy market. You know, it's a really solid market for us. You know, what we're seeing now is like a lot of the kind of blue chip companies that have offices here, they're kind of either refurbing or they're getting a little bit bigger, or what they're doing is downsizing but making their office nicer. So that's a lot of opportunities in that sense. There's massive, with all this kind of investment coming in from other countries like Russia and everything like that. That's helped with a lot of the residential market as well. People are buying villas left, right, and centre. So that's been a real growth for us moving forward. In Saudi's just on another level when it comes to the kind of projects that we're touching on there. I think the investment that Saudi's been doing in terms of especially their sports and events is creating a lot of attraction there. You know, if you go, I'm a big boxing fan, so that the fact is that, you know, you can go to Saudi to see an event of a lifetime rather than Vegas is insane. I never thought that would have happened. So they're putting themselves on the map, and the UAE with everything else that's going on in Ras Al Khaimah, the hotel resorts that they're putting up there, the opportunities are huge. And I feel like Dubai is probably one of the most stable markets for that. So yeah, I think it's just going to continue to grow. And yeah, education, healthcare, when we start to even touch on those things, they're just getting better and better. And you know, some of the schools that are coming up, they're coming up with like UK schools and everything like that. So yeah.
So just thinking about the future, I'd like to ask you, you know, how do you find managing the workforce, and how's that evolving? Because to talk about millennials, and I think the latest gen is Gen Z, is it? How have you found it as a leader and as somebody who, like myself, you know, grew up and was trained in the early stages in more of the old-fashioned way? What's evolved, and how's your leadership, or how have you had to change the human resources side of your business?
I think there's definitely to attract certain type of talent, they will look at you as a business, and you know, what things are you doing outside of just paying people on time? Because, you know, and what medical, they're looking at, okay, what kind of activities do you do with your team? What charity work do you do? So they look at you as, you know, ethically as well, which is a good thing, I think. And I definitely think you have to have a different approach to dealing with certain personalities, because, like you say, we're old school. You know, there was a lot of shouting and swearing going on in the office in some of the places I've worked, and I just don't think you can do that as much now. There's so you have to kind of cater to that, but I would say that's probably why I kind of touch on the values so much and make them so strong, because I think to create the right talent, that's what you have to do. But it's not just a tick box exercise. You have to believe in it, and that's why you have to come up with it yourself. You can't just go on the internet and go, right, what company values are. You have to be passionate about it yourself, because if you're not, people aren't going to buy into it, and people won't work there. They'll see right through it, in my opinion, anyway. So
yeah, and I know you do a lot for your employees as well as I think for your clients. So what type of activities do you do, given Dubai has such a cross section of nationalities and cultures as well?
Yeah, it's a good question, because what we've done is we've done wellness days. So we did a beach workout with clients. We've done a beach workout with our staff, and then we had a company come in and educate all the staff about food and calories, and macro balance meals and all this kind of stuff. We're going to do another one at some point about finance, how to manage your personal finances better. And I think it's just about, making people's lives a bit better. I mean, I've been, as you know, like I stopped drinking. I started working out a lot more, so I lost a lot of weight over the last kind of couple of years. So it's something that I've realized that it's so important to actually look and to feel good about yourself, and then that way you actually perform better in the office. You're more efficient. You're more happy.
So who comes up with those ideas? Because they sound amazing. It sounds to me like you are creating a community in your company where people are not just obligated to come to work and give value to the company, but the company is looking at how they give value back, right? So
yeah,
creating a real community feel where people feel appreciated.
yeah.
So how do you come up with these topics?
Well, at first, when I started the business, I wanted to create this like really nice, welcoming environment where people could relax when they were at work. It wasn't like somebody clock watching them. But actually, one of the directors that works for me, he goes to a gym, and then there was a friend of his that was setting up these events, like corporate events, like where you do workouts on the beach. And then the kind of like conversation started flowing, and then they ended up getting involved and doing an event for us. And then once we did one event, I was like, this is amazing. Like it's 7 a.m. in the morning, we're all on the beach together. And then we did a second event with clients and staff, and we did one of the talks as well in the office. So it's kind of just evolved, but it's very much in line with things that we've set out as a business, what we want to do, and what do we want to do to be better.
So can you share which company that was? Do you want to give them a plug? I mean, Optimal
there's a couple of companies.
or?
No, it's a different company. I'll have to I'll get you the details for that.
No, I just thought if the listeners might, because
yeah,
I think a lot of other companies would like to do it. It's just a matter of executing it successfully, right? These type of activities.
Yeah.
Wellness, employee wellness activities, I'd call it.
Yeah. I mean, there's a whole bunch of companies that do it, but we really like these ones, especially the one about calories, because I learned a lot that day as well, when they talked about what's actually in salmon, and all this kind of stuff. So it was really useful, and like I say, it was different cultures in the business, but everybody could relate.
Yeah,
which was really good.
Okay, now what about in your personal life? What do you do in your downtime? I mean, what are your key hobbies?
So I do like boxing. So I do 3 days boxing, 3 days weight training. That's the first thing I do I do that 7 a.m. 6 days a week. That's been probably the biggest changes. I've made it into a habit. It's just part of what I do now. So I do like, and obviously I like to take clients golfing. Golfing I've started this year because I don't drink anymore. I still like to socialize and still like to kind of keep in touch with people, go for dinners. But I think that was a big thing for me. Was like, you used to go out and entertain a lot, client entertainment, taking staff out. But then when you don't drink, you don't get invited out as much because there's a whole thing around that. But eventually, now I've got to like 2 years. I was like, right, okay, I want to be out and more with clients, but I need to create something. So I was like, right, let's get this golf membership, and we can take all our clients. And if I'm going once a week, got 4 hours of some of my best clients. That's been a game changer for me. Some of the conversations I'm able to have has been really, really good. So actually now it's become a passion of mine and a hobby is to play golf. But I am a family man, I spend a lot of time with my family, and I enjoy being a dad, a good dad. So being present for her is takes up a lot of my time as well.
Great. Now, so do you have any favorite podcasts or any favorite books or influencers or anybody in particular that has inspired you, that would be
yeah, I mean, just recently, in the last kind of couple of years, I'd say there's been a couple of podcasts like with the Diary of CEO. There's a Simon Sinek one recently. I think I mentioned it in our last meeting about friendships. That was a really good one. I mean, in terms of podcasts, because I've done like a business coaching, so once a month I see a business coach, which really helps. There's a lot of podcasts now about mental health, which has been really useful. And then there was actually a really good book about successful marriages, 7 Principles of Marriage by John Gottman. That's been, I think, maintaining a successful relationship takes work. And this particular book has really helped shape a successful marriage with me and my wife, to make sure and we get on even better than before. We've got a really great relationship, a great marriage, but even now I think this book has actually helped us be even better. And nice. So so that this guy's done 40 years worth of research. All my mates that tell me they got marriage problems or they're not happy in a relationship, I say, stop talking to me, get this book. It would, if you're willing to work at something, then I think that's a really great start for most people. And it's not only that, but it helps you with your personal life as well.
Well, I love this advice you're giving, right? Because in Vistage, really the primary reason you join is to help you achieve your success as a leader, right, in business. But actually, to do that is a three-dimensional journey. It's not just your business; it's also the quality of your personal life, right? Which, as you mentioned, is your marriage, your family life, and the quality of your health. 2 things you've been touching on repeatedly in this. So, there you go. I want the listeners, I'm going to read it out again because I think I have heard of this book before. I've not read it, but I think it's great advice. 7 Principles of Marriage by who?
John Gottman.
John Gottman.
Yeah, I think it's always a great start, but I'm a big believer in that. I think the part of the success of the business is because I've spent time getting my personal life right. Because there's no point being a successful CEO and then you haven't got a great relationship with your kid, you haven't got a great relationship with your wife. It's because then you use the business as an escape. I feel like you need to have a balance, but it's understanding what that balance is.
Well, while you're touching on that, I mean, I've got a saying, like success doesn't create happiness. Happiness creates success. And people who chase happiness by thinking they're going to be successful in business or successful in one manner or the other, they've got it wrong. And I think with wisdom and age, we figure that out as we go through life, right? But actually, it's getting your mindset in the right place. Being happy is what ultimately will make you more successful.
Yeah, the money comes with that. People kind of chase the money, but actually, it's a product of you striving to be happy, and that's how it's worked for me.
And there's a lot of gurus out there that say choose happiness. Like you need to choose to be happy, and you need to set that as a goal and do whatever you can to be happy, and then the rest of it falls in line, as you say. Now, what would you say to your 18-year-old self if you were to have an opportunity to go back and meet Jaspal Bal as he's 18 with all the wisdom and knowledge that you have now? What advice would you give him?
I'd say was to figure out what your passion is and hone in on that, because I think I didn't know what my passion was. I didn't have a lot of direction growing up, so it's kind of But I knew what my passion. I was good at art, So I would probably say to myself then, follow that. I'd be probably 4 or 5 years ahead of where I am today had I've kind of followed what my passion was and figured that out and got good at it and found a career path within that, which I eventually did, but it took a lot longer and cost a lot of time and money, which now when you get older you find is more precious, losing time. And I think another thing I tell myself at 18 is definitely learn to look after yourself better. I was always kind of struggled with weight, and I think just kind of educating yourself and being consistent. I think the part sometimes these having a creative side of you can be a little bit spontaneous and inconsistent sometimes. There's those things that come with that, but you only understand that when you get older. Like now I know what I'm good at and I know what I'm terrible at, and everything that I'm terrible at, I have the right things and people around me to kind of counterbalance that, so I can be really hone in on my skill set. So yeah, I'd say that to my younger self is are those things where I've learn to look after yourself better, but also figure out what it is that you want to do. But it's difficult to kind of for a young person to really figure out what they want to do. There's so many options now as well.
Look, it's great advice. I've got kids as well, and it is an interesting journey seeing in a very different world than we grew up in, trying to guide them, right? And I think the best advice you can give younger kids these days is find something you love and that you're good at. Don't find something that you love that you're not very good at, because that's not going to work. But if you find something you love and you're good at, and double down. Now, if you don't know what you love or you're good at, spend your 20s trying a few different things until you find it. I think a lot of the old way of thinking that was probably passed on by our parents was they were trying to push us into sometimes put round pegs in a square. They were like trying to say you need to be you need to be a lawyer, an accountant, a doctor. But the reality is you don't need to. What you need to do is find what you're passionate at and good at, and you'll be successful.
Yeah, and especially if you're not an academic, it's really hard, because when you're an academic, it's kind of set out what you need to do to get to a certain place, right? To get good grades. Okay, if you want to be a doctor, you've got to be really good at X, Y, Z. And I think that's what something I didn't have, because I wasn't really academic. So it's about kind of guiding them. Because my dad would be like, oh, as long as you're going to work with a briefcase. But he was first generation born in India. I mean, sorry, and I'm first generation born in England. So they moved here for a better life, but then they were so young, they had to work 2 jobs. So it was really difficult for them to kind of understand what real education was. Great.
Well, look, it's been really enjoyable chatting with you today. I'm going to finish off with another question on Vistage. You've been a member of Vistage for most of the year now, so 7-8 months. What advice would you give to anybody that's interested in Vistage, and they're thinking of joining or becoming a member? What advice would you give to them?
I think as long as you're open, you have to be able to talk about your business freely, because you will get a lot out of it, and it will make you feel like you're not alone in your problems. And I think that's one of the things that people won't go to something like this, because they feel like, oh, they're not going to get any help out of it. But it is really, really helpful. So I think it's more, the advice is just to be open to new things. I I think that's the main thing really that I found, is that because I had my own judgment as well, so it's kind of going in there with an open mind will help you get the most out of it, because there's some real good experience in the room already now. Like even now, like what, 7 months in, and I'm able to kind of call one of the guys and go, right, what do you think about this? And they'll give me real good advice.
Yeah, it is great advice. I mean, one of the major aspects of Vistage is it helps with that isolation that CEOs find themselves in. I mean, CEOs, founders, you have to show confidence in front of your stakeholders, whether that is, if you have other shareholders or whether it's your employees. You have to, even in times of crisis, in good times, bad times, people are looking at you, and you are, you're the barometer of the business. So you have to always be showing as if everything is under control. But sometimes in your head, as you know, things are not under control. You're finding it very challenging to make certain decisions, and it can be lonely. And you don't want to bring all the problems home all the time, because that's not going to be healthy for your marriage, right, or relationships. So, Vistage definitely, from my experience and from all the studies, it helps CEOs out of that isolation, because for in our case, 4 hours a month, you've actually got people that are encouraging you to tell you about, the challenges, the problems you're facing, and how they can help you.
Yeah, even on the like the WhatsApp group, there's always like kind of really nice insights into, like we talked about how to deal with millennials, and or Gen Z, or how do you now, as an older CEO, like deal with that kind of stuff. So there's all these kind of articles that get published on there. I think they're really helpful, and it actually makes you want to contribute as well. Like even doing this, it allows you, it's a platform to kind of give something back as well.
Brilliant. Okay, well, look, thank you very much, Jaspal, for the conversation today. Well done on the journey you've been on personally as a leader, and in creating a very successful business. So, great success to get the 30 million turnover in about 5 years. I think the journey's only beginning, though, given that everything you've set up. And I know with your focus on Saudi and the UAE and everything we know about this region, and the positivity and the great leadership in the region for businesses like yourself, I think you've got a great future ahead of you. So thank you for the podcast today.
Thank you very much.